Giving away my lecture. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Pallavi. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. You might recall that yesterday we started talking about fair division, right? And in one of the lectures, we talked about divisible resources or cake cutting problem, where we could give very strong proportionality and envy-freeness guarantees. And in the next lecture, we started talking about discrete or indivisible resources. And we saw that you can't achieve exact envy-freeness there, right? Because of the discrete nature of the resources. And that's why we defined some approximate notions of fairness, like envy-freeness up to one good. So today we are going to dig a little bit deeper into the same idea, and we are going to ask ourselves, is it possible to achieve stronger guarantees of fairness, stronger than EF1, right? And we'll see how far we can get in that. So just to remind you of the model, we have a bunch of agents given by these triangles over here, a bunch of indivisible items. And what we are looking for is an allocation of these items among the agents, right? We want to partition these items among these agents. So every item goes to exactly one agent and nothing is left unallocated. We talked about this notion envy-freeness, which says that every agent is happy with its bundle, right? No one wants to switch with anyone else. Okay. So for example, in this picture here, suppose we give item A to the red agent and B and C go to the blue agent, then red is happy with its bundle because it values its own bundle at 4 and the other agent's bundle at 3, right? Because of the additivity assumption. And likewise, blue is happy with its own bundle. It doesn't want the red agent's bundle. So both are happy, and that's why this is an envy-free allocation. Okay. You might recall that this was the formal definition of envy-freeness that we saw. Okay. Now, envy-freeness is a very natural, very compelling notion, but it also is very strong, right? So there could be some instances where envy-free allocations are not guaranteed to exist, and checking whether a given instance admits an envy-free allocation, that is a hard problem, right? So it's a very nice notion, but it has some existential and computational downsides. And because of that, we defined approximations. Envy-freeness up to one good is one of them, and it said that you can bound the envy, or you can eliminate the envy by the hypothetical removal of some good in the other bundle. Okay? As an example, if you look at the red agent here, it gets a value of 2 for itself and 5 for the blue agent's bundle. So there's definitely envy. But if we imagine, if we just do a thought experiment of taking out the item A from the blue agent's bundle, then there is no envy for the residual bundle of the blue agent, right? So that's the sense in which the envy was limited or bounded. Okay. And again, you can write the formal definition very much like envy-freeness, except that you're comparing with a reduced bundle of the other agent. Okay. And the important thing to note here is that you're asking for the existence of some good, right? You're not asking for this inequality to be obeyed for every good. Just there should just exist some item whose removal gives you envy-freeness. Okay, and this quantifier is going to be quite important for us today. Okay, all right. Okay, one of the advantages of this approximation is that it is guaranteed to exist. So no matter what instance you are given, no matter how many agents, how many items, whatever their preferences are, there always exists an EF1 allocation, and there is a polynomial time algorithm for computing an EF1 allocation. In fact, we saw two algorithms yesterday, the round robin algorithm and the envy cycle elimination algorithm. Okay. All right, so this was the picture. Round robin works for additive valuations, and NV cycle works for a broader class of monotone valuations. Okay, so this is what we discussed yesterday. I hope people recall that somewhat. Okay, so today we are going to be unhappy with the EF1 notion, uh, and the reason is examples like this. Okay, so suppose you have these three items to give away: a very expensive car and two relatively inexpensive donuts. Okay, and you want to divide these three items among these two agents in a fair way. Okay, now one way to divide these items would be as shown here. So you give a donut to the red agent and the other two items, the donut and the car, to the blue agent, right? And this, if you think about it, is an EF1 allocation, right? If the donuts are both similarly valued, right? So the red agent is quite unhappy, right? But its envy could be made to go away by the hypothetical removal of this car, right? But that doesn't seem right, right? You're in when you're removing an item, you're almost removing the entire value of the other agent from the envied bundle, right? So we did invoke the idea of removing an item in order to reason about envy for discrete items, but this almost feels like an abuse of that idea, right? So what would arguably be fairer is that if we give the car to one of the agents and the other inexpensive items to the second agent, right? And this kind of example motivates a stronger formulation of the envy-finesse approximate notion. It's called envy-finesse up to any good. Okay, so it's very much like EF1 except for a change of quantifier. Right. So now you want the envy to be eliminated not just by removal of some good, but by the removal of every good. No matter which good you remove individually, again, hypothetically, the envy should go away. Okay. So as an example, think about a scenario like this. You have these two agents and four items. So the red agent's value for its own bundle is 5, and its value for the blue agent's bundle is 6. Okay, so there's definitely envy. But no matter which of the goods you remove, the envy will go away, right? Likewise, if you look at the blue agent, uh, okay, in this case, it does not even envy the red agent, but for this allocation to be envy free up to any good, if it envied the red agent, then no matter which good I remove, hypothetically, the envy should go away. Okay, so that's the idea of EFX. So not just some good, but any good. Okay, and the definition looks very much like EF1, right? This inequality here. The change is in terms of the quantifier here. So now we are asking for every good in the other agent bundle, not just some good, right? So the there exists change to a for every. That's the change. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Cool. So one might ask whether, just like EF1, an EFX allocation always exists or not, right? Like, what's the point of even coming up with this definition? So the answer is pretty complicated. So we'll get there in steps. But as a sort of a special case, okay, there are some restricted settings where an EFX allocation definitely exists, and it's very easy to see why. Okay, so imagine you have identical agents. Okay, so all agents have the same values, right? In other words, if you look at the valuation matrix, all the rows are the same. Okay. In that case, it's very easy to see why an EFX allocation always exists. And in fact, there is a fast algorithm for finding an EFX allocation. Anyone wants to think about what that might be? Yes, it's exactly this thing here. So I want to come up with an allocation where NV could be eliminated by removal of any good, not just some good. Okay. And to begin with, I would like you to imagine that the agents are identical. So you only have copies of the red agent everywhere, for example. Right? Sort how? Exactly. So sorting is sort of well defined, right? Yeah. Mhm. Least valued good. Okay. 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 So you're going through the goods in the ascending order of values. So you take the least valued item, and least valued is well defined because preferences are identical, right? So least valued is least valued for everybody. So you give these items to whom? Sources. Okay. Okay. All right. Mhm. Right. Exactly. So there could be an issue there, right? Because suppose my value, so this is me, okay. This is you, okay. Say you are about to get a new good. Say you're about to get a new item, which is very highly valued, okay. But so far you have gotten very tiny items. Exactly, right? So the problem with giving items in ascending order is that if you get a really valuable item, right? Sure, this might be NV free up to one good, but it's not NV free up to any good because if I remove one of the tiny items, I might still value your bundle more than my bundle, right? Um, right, but I think you're on the right track. It's just a matter of switching the order. Yes, it's very similar to the Graham's scheduling classical algorithm from scheduling. Yes, exactly. Right? So the algorithm is pretty much what you said. You allocate the goods in a non-increasing or a decreasing order of values. So the highest valued items first. And every new good is assigned to the least happy agent. Okay. And think about it, a least happy agent for identical valuations is also not envied by anyone, right? Because the preferences are identical. So we can just talk in terms of absolute values rather than relative values, because everyone's perspective is the same. Yes. Identical means if you look at your input, then it only consists of copies of the red agent. All rows are the same. So all agents have the same valuations, right? All agents are clones of each other, right? So all the rows in this matrix, they are the same, right? So every agent thinks item A is valued at 3, every agent thinks item C is valued at 4, and so on. Okay. Okay. So as an example, suppose you have these 3 agents and they are all identical. Okay. I start by giving the heaviest item to one of the agents, right? Then these two are now the least happy agents. So the next item should go to one of them, say the middle agent. Then the next item must go to the least happy agent, the third one. Okay. And then the next item should again go to this one because it's the least happy, right? And so on. Okay. All right. So why is this EFX? So surely, I mean, the algorithm terminates and all that, okay? But why does it give you an EFX allocation? Yeah. Exactly, right? So least happy is also an unenvied agent because of identical preferences, right? So upon adding a new item, sure, you might generate some envy, right? And that envy can certainly be removed by removing this newly added item, obviously. But the point to note is that the newly added item is also the least valued for everybody, right? So according to everybody, the least valued item in this bundle is the most recently added item. Why? Because of the way in which we have sorted them, right? So sure, it might generate envy, but that envy can be removed by the removal of this newest good. Okay, and that's the sense in which this is the EFX. Okay, right? Okay, is it clear? So I'm not like writing the full proof, but I think the idea is pretty much there. All right. So turns out that, okay, so this result was using the additivity assumption, right? We assumed additive valuations, but one might ask, okay, can you say something about the more general class of monotone valuations, right? So let's still assume the agents are identical, but let's generalize the valuation class to something, some broader class, okay? And turns out that you can still say something useful. So even for the class of monotone valuations, as long as the preferences are identical, as long as agents are copies of each other, there still exists an EFX allocation, even in that setting. Okay? Now, I'm not going to prove this result to you, but let me just tell you how one could go about proving such a thing. So to prove this, we make use of something called the Leximin allocation. It's a very complicated name. Okay, it stands for lexicographic maximin. Right, you maximize the minimum and so on. Okay, so let's see what it means. Uh, so okay, so we have a space of allocations. Right, you're given a bunch of agents and items, and there's many allocations in that space. Right, among all those allocations, look at the one or look at those that maximize the utility of the least happy agent. Like every allocation has some least happy agent, possibly multiple least happy agents, right? Consider those allocations in which the least happy agent is as happy as possible. Okay, that's a subset of all allocations, right? Okay. Among that subset, look at the ones that maximize the cardinality of the minimum utility bundle, right? That give as many items to the least happy agent as possible. Okay, so that again a smaller subset, possibly, right? Among those allocations, look at the ones that maximize the second least happy agent and make it as happy as possible. Yes. All allocations. Right now, it's not even clear whether EFX exists or not, but I'm just looking at the space of all allocations. Among those, I pick ones that make the least happy agent as happy as possible. Among those, I pick the ones that give those agents as many items as possible. Among those, I look at the ones that maximize the second least happy agent. And then I maximize the cardinality of those agents. And then the third least happy agent, and so on. Okay, so it's a lexicographic maximin, right? I maximize the minimum utility agent, then the cardinality, and I do it in a lexicographic manner. Yes. What do you think? So monotone just means that, so suppose you have two sets, S and T is a strict superset of S. Then your value for T is at least as high. That's monotone. So now what do you think? Additive is a special case of monotone, but monotone is a much more general class. Exactly. Okay, so everyone understands what Leximin is. Okay, I hope everyone believes that such an allocation always exists. Right, I'm just shrinking down the space of allocation, and there's got to be one that maximizes the least happy agent's utility by definition. Among those, there's got to be one that maximizes the cardinality, and so on and so on. So the existence is not under question. Right, it exists just by definition. What requires some work is that any such allocation actually turns out to be EFX. Okay, so you can show that the Leximin allocation satisfies EFX even for monotone valuations. That I'm not going to do. So someone should try that and tell me how to do it over a coffee break or something. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So first we shrink the space to the allocation that maximize the least happy agent utility, right? And then only then you go to the second least, because if there is another allocation where the second least happy agent is happier, but the least happy agent is less happy, that's not good for us. Yeah, so everything is subject to this, right? So subject to the least happy agent being the happiest, then only then we move to cardinality, and only then we move to the second least happy, because that's the lexicographic nature. It's like a dictionary ordering, right? So all words that start with A are above all words that start with B, right? So that's the idea here. So yeah. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Um, okay. Yes, that's exactly the idea. So if something is not EFX, you try to do a change of the item in a bundle and show that you can actually get a lexicographic improvement. That's the idea. It's like a proof by contradiction on the right lines. Yeah. Okay. But I'm not attempting a complete proof here. I think it's a nice exercise. All right. So so note that this result just gives you the existence of an EFX allocation. It does not show you how to compute it. Right? A priori, it's not obvious whether you can find a Leximin plus allocation in polynomial time. Right? Because you're looking at the space of all allocations, which is a huge space, an exponentially large space, and then you're shrinking it down one by one. It's not obvious whether you can do this in polynomial time. And there is a reason to believe that you may not be able to do it in polynomial time because there are results in the literature which say that even for agents with something called submodular valuations, which is actually a subclass of monotone, even on a subclass of monotone, it can take a lot of queries, okay, to find an EFX allocation. Why do I say queries? Well, because now your values are not just additive, right? So you can't, so the value of a bundle, you can't just reconstruct it using the values of the individual items, right? So to know the value of an agent, you need to do a value query, right? You need to give a bundle and then an oracle will respond to you with the value of that bundle. Okay? And these results say that you need a lot of information in the form of this back and forth querying in order to arrive at an EFX allocation. Okay, so I'm not going into the details, but just to tell you that computationally, it's not such a nice thing, right? So existence-wise, good. Computation-wise, not so much. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this was all for identical agents. Okay. So it exists even for monotone. But what about non-identical agents? Right? Identical is very restricted. Right? People have different preferences. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So does it require sub-exponential number of queries? I'm not saying Leximin is the only way to do it. Leximin is a way to prove this result. And this result is not saying Leximin is hard, it's saying EFX is hard. Right? So in particular, Leximin should be hard because if you could do Leximin efficiently, then you could construct EFX efficiently by this argument, but you can't. Right? So it's an unconditional lower bound. It's not saying unless P equals NP, this happens. It's like this happens, you know? Yeah. Um, is it just as difficult for super additive valuations? I'm not sure. I mean, okay, so any superclass of submodular is difficult, but anything between additive and submodular, I'm not so sure. Okay, you want to tell us what super additive is? So it's more than the sum of its parts. Yeah, I mean, I'm not defining what submodular is and all that. I'm just trying to say that, okay, this result, it gives you nice existence for monotone, but computation-wise, it may not be a very helpful result. Okay. All right. Right. So what do we know about non-identical agents? Right. So again, identical, at least we have resolved the existence question, maybe not the computation question. That's okay. But what can we say for agents that have different preferences? Okay. So here we have a very, very rich set of questions. Okay, this is where EFX really starts to, you know, show its challenging side to us. Yes. Yeah. So when you have additive valuations, you don't need to query anything, right? You are just given the values of the individual items, and for any bundle, you can determine its value just by adding up the numbers. So there's no need to query, but for non-additive valuations, you need to query because the values may not be, they may not just add up, right? So you need to, it's very similar to Robertson Web. Yes, yes, exactly. Yes, it's a value query, right? I give you a bundle, you tell me that agent's value for that bundle. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So for non-identical agents, uh, what we know is that if you have just two agents, then EFX always exists. Okay. And you can basically use the identical valuations result that I showed you on the previous slide to prove this result. Anyone sees how? So I have two agents with possibly different preferences. I claim that an EFX allocation always exists. And the hint is that you can actually use the identical valuation result to show this claim. I mean, the hint is right there on the slide. Okay. Exactly, right? So you can actually appeal to your cut and choose intuition from cake cutting, right? So although red and blue are different agents, they have different preferences. Let's imagine a different problem where both agents are red. Okay, just for a second, let's say that's the case, right? Then we have an identical valuation setting. Let's invoke our results from the previous slide. There's got to exist an EFX allocation, right? So you have two bundles, right? Now we invite the blue agent to pick its favorite bundle. Right, so blue is not going to envy the other bundle for sure. It's picking its more preferred bundle. And red is not going to envy blue because it created an EFX partition. Right? So no matter which bundle it gets, it's going to have bounded envy in the sense of EFX. Right? So we can piggyback on the identical valuation result to prove something for two non-identical agents just by using this cut and choose idea from that we saw in cake cutting. Is that clear? Yeah? Okay. And there are some extensions of this result. So you can even show existence of EFX for two types of agents. So you can have more than two agents, like you can have 20 agents, but 8 agents are of the same type, meaning they have the same values, and the remaining 12 agents all have the same value. Right? Even for those settings, you can show the existence of EFX using, you can just soup up this idea of cut and choose in some way. Okay, but that's not too hard to show. Okay, all right. What about 3 agents? Right? So here the problem becomes much more challenging actually, right? But thankfully we know that even for 3 agents, an EFX allocation exists when agents have additive valuations. Okay. This is a somewhat sophisticated proof, right? It uses some complicated potential arguments and exchanges between bundles. So I'm not even going to attempt going into any details for this. But yeah, it's a fairly non-trivial argument. It requires a lot of case analysis, and it's a fairly detailed proof. Okay? But just as a sort of a news headline, all I can tell you is that for 3 agents, EFX always exists. Okay, for additive valuations. All right. What about 4? Right. Here, unfortunately, we don't know much. Okay, so we don't know whether an EFX allocation always exists for 4 agents, and we don't have a counterexample, even for 4 agents. Right, so that should tell you how little we know about this problem. Like, forget about general number of agents. Even 4 is turning out to be quite challenging. Yes. Hardness of what? Um, well, no. There are no results of that form either. Right. So we can't decide. I mean, we don't have. We don't know if there are any no instances, first of all. For all we know, the answer could be yes always. If it is yes, then maybe the checking existence question is trivial, right? Because the answer is always yes. So we don't know which is the truth, right? It's sort of a strange situation. Sushmita. Not in general. So you could have a non-constructive proof of existence. No, no, no. I could. I mean, uh, it could be the case that I could come up with a proof that shows the existence of an EFX allocation without giving me a recipe for finding one. Somewhat like Leximin is somewhat computational in nature, but there could be, some completely non-constructive proofs that don't give you any clue whatsoever as to how to proceed to find such an allocation. Right? Um, there could be. I don't know of any such proofs. Yeah, I mean, identical is the most restricted, right? Everyone is the same. But there are slight extensions. For example, if you have two types of agents, so somewhat identical, like only two identical types, like two groups, even there you can say something. For three types, forget about three types, even three agents, we only know for additive. And actually, recently, some generalizations of this have been achieved, but for monotone, we don't know yet. So if you have three agents with monotone, we don't know whether EFX always exists. All right. So forget about three types of agents. Even three agents is not fully understood, I would say. Yeah. Four is just, yeah, it's just, yeah. For monotone. Oh yeah, for three types is unknown. Yes. Three types or four agents also I do not know. Yeah. Right. Other questions? Okay. So just want to make a note about four agents, right? So although we don't know the existence of EFX in general, even for additive, there has been some progress when you have something called two-value additive instances, right? So two-value just means that if you look at the valuation matrix, right, where the agents are rows and the items are columns, right? Then if every agent has two different types of values, like a high value and a low value for the items, right? It's a by-valued setting, so to say. There we can actually, there we know about the existence of EFX. Right? So if there are not too many different types of numbers in that matrix, then we can still say something. But this is still somewhat restrictive. Yeah, it's somewhat more general than binary. Yeah, yeah. So for dichotomous instances like this, we know something, but that's pretty much where we are in terms of existence. Yeah. Good. No, no, yeah, sorry. This is for any number of agents. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. Good. Okay. Cool. So, given how little we know about EFX, uh, people have thought about approximations of EFX. So, EFX itself is an approximation, but given how hard it is, people have thought about a second approximation, like approximate EFX. Okay. And one approximation that I quite like is something called fairness via charity. Okay. So the idea here is that, okay, it's proving out to be very hard to show the existence of an EFX allocation. Okay, fine. So let's do this. Let's set aside some of the items. Okay, let's not allocate everything. Right? Let's set aside some of the items, and the remaining items, let's allocate them in an EFX manner. Okay, so it's a partial allocation that satisfies EFX. Okay. Okay. It's given to charity. Okay. So an extreme version of that is you give everything to charity, right? In that case, even I can solve the problem, right? So the idea is that you want to give limited stuff to charity. Like you don't want to discard too many items, and whatever you have discarded it has a somewhat of a limited value, like so people don't envy what you have given to the charity. That's sort of the high level idea. Let me define it formally. Okay. So this notion is called EFX with charity, defined in the 2019 paper and then subsequently studied in a 2020 paper. So EFX with charity is basically a partition into n+1 bundles. Okay, so if you have n agents, you partition the item into n+1 buckets. So the n buckets go to the n agents, and there is a charity pool P. Okay, and we say that this partition satisfies EFX with charity if a bunch of conditions hold. So the first condition is that the allocation among the main agents, the n agents, that should be EFX. Okay, so the main agents should not envy each other beyond EFX. Okay, all right, so this is good. No agent, no main agent should envy the discarded items in the pool. So whatever you have set aside, that should not have a very high value for any of the main agents. Okay, and also there should not be too many items that you are discarding. Right? In particular, the number of items that you have discarded is at most the number of agents n. Yeah, exactly. That gives us some advantage, right? So the difficulty of finding EFX is because of your obligation to assign everything. So we are explore if you can some stuff and achieve EFX for the rest. Yeah, if the bundle you envy has just one item, it's automatically EFX because the least valued good is also the only good. Right? So you saw that car and donuts example, right? This was EFX for the same reason because you remove the car and your envy is gone. We are not enforcing that cap, right? So you are allowed to have, it's okay if you get just one item, but it may be a very high valued item, so you won't need other items. Right? So if you get a Lamborghini, you're happy, you don't care. Right? If a poor guy like me gets donuts, right, then maybe I need 100 donuts to compensate for the car. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, everyone clear with the charity definition? Okay, cool. So we are going to try to come up with an algorithm to find an EFX with charity allocation, and you will see that it uses the NV cycle idea that we saw yesterday. Okay, that was useful for EF1 yesterday, but it's going to be quite useful for EFX as well. This approximation of EFX rather. Okay, good. Yes. It's just saying that you don't give away too many items. There's a bound on the items that you give away. Because that's what we can prove. Right? So I can't prove that number of discarded items is at most 5. Right? So the best bound that I can come up with, it's not the best bound, a bound that I can come up with is n. There have been some improvements to this that make it a little bit sublinear, but we don't have a constant number of discarded stuff. Yeah, if this is 0, then you are back in the exact EFX territory, right? Which is a horrendously difficult question. Not, I don't know provably, but exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I hope we agree some bound would be nice, right? So this is the bound that we can show. Smaller the better, yes. Yeah. Yeah, so that hope does not turn out always, right? How do you know that the dummy items will necessarily, exactly? That is harder to ensure. Otherwise, you could embed the EFX problem in a charity problem and exactly, yeah. Okay, so let's see. So what has been shown is that even for monotone valuations, actually this approximation of EFX can be achieved. Okay. So that's good news, right? So by coming up with this idea of discarding a small number of items and items of small value, you can actually achieve EFX among the main agents, right? Even for this broad class of monotone valuations. Okay. And I want to give you like some sense of how one goes about proving such a result. It won't be a completely rigorous proof, but hopefully some of the main ideas will be there. Okay. Okay. So one important construct that we are going to use is called the minimal nvid subset. And here's how it is defined. So suppose you're given a set of items A, B, C, and D. Let's look at all one item removed subsets of S. Okay. So you imagine just taking out A, you imagine just taking out B, just taking out C, and just taking out D, and you think of a tree. Right? So this is the parent node, these are all the children nodes. Okay. All right. And let's continue further. Okay. For each node, let's look at their one item removed subsets and mark them as children. Okay, something like this. Okay, and keep going. Okay, so for any set, we can construct a tree of one item removed children. Okay. Sorry. They could be, yeah, but that's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal for us. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, in the definition, but this is independent of charity. This you can do for any set, right? This has nothing to do with the EFX so far. We'll come to that. Okay. So suppose this set S is envied by one or more agents. Okay, suppose some agent is holding this set, right? And there's one or more agents that envy this set. Okay, all right. What we are going to do is we are going to go down this tree and see at which point envy goes away. Okay. So if you envy a set with lots of goods, let me start removing goods from that set to see if you still envy it or not. Right? Okay. So suppose I go down this branch, and this set is also envied by one or more agents. Okay. So let me go down further. Right? Let me go down this branch. Say this is also envied by one or more agents. Okay. S could, I mean, you can think of it as any set at the moment. It does not have to belong to anybody yet. It will belong in a moment, right? This is right now. I'm just imagining a definition of a set, right? Suppose if someone has an envy, like, so other people have their own bundles, right? I'm just looking at this bundle that is lying over here, right? If this is envied, let me take out an item, look at the subsets, and it's sort of more general. Doesn't have to have an owner. Yes. It will be clear in a moment. Yes, it will be very useful in finding a set for charity. Yeah, just maybe hold on for 2 minutes. Hopefully, you'll see what's going on. Any path, yes, right. So if I envy a bigger set, just remove one of the goods and check if that thing is still envied. If not, then pause there. If yes, then still keep shrinking it. Okay. Now suppose once you go down sufficiently, you reach a node such that none of its children nodes are envied by anybody. Okay, so suppose you have removed enough value from this so that no one envies any of its subsets, any of its children. Okay, so such a set I'm going to call a minimal envied subset of the original set S. Right? Why is it minimal? Because no further subset of it is envied by anyone. So that's the sense in which it is minimal. Now there could be many such sets, right? I'm just pointing out one of them. Yeah. Okay. Okay. The thing to note, and this is where the connection with EFX becomes clear, is that no agent has EFX envy towards a minimal envied subset. Right? Why? Because no matter which good you remove, the residual subset is not envied by anyone. So EFX is satisfied towards this minimal envied subset. Okay? And that's where this is going to be useful in our EFX for charity algorithm. Right? So we are going to crucially rely on these minimal envied subsets. Okay? All right. So another piece of terminology is that of a most envious agent of this set, and that is any agent, there could be multiple such agents, any agent that envies a minimal envied subset of S. Okay, there could be many agents that envy this minimal envied subset. Uh, all of them are most envious agents of this original set S. Okay. There could be many. No. Could be. Any minimal envied subset. So this tree is huge, right? This tree is huge. There could be many minimal envied subsets in this tree. Any agent that envies a minimal envied subset is a most envious agent of this set. So this there could be many such most envious agents. Mhm. Yes. All of you, everybody in the front row could envy this, right? All of you would be most envious agents of this set S. Maybe people in the back row envy a different most envious minimal envious subset. They're all most envious agents again of this set S. So all of you are most envious agents of the set S because there is a corresponding minimal envied subset that makes you the most envious agent. Okay, and those could be of different cardinality at different levels. All that is possible. Okay, I'm not making any assumption about the cardinality. All I care about is you don't envy any children. That's important. It's okay. It's not most in the sense of some magnitude. It's most because these are the agents who you have to go deepest in the tree to satisfy. Okay, and again in a sort of in a minimal sense. Okay, so yes. So the idea was that if you have a minimal envied subset, none a minimal envied set, none of its subsets are envied by anybody. Yes, yes. So that will become clear in a second when I get to the algorithm. This is just a terminology, but the idea you want to keep in mind is okay. So say I am an agent, I am holding some items, and say this bundle is with you, S is with you, right? Now this in your bundle S, this is the minimal envied subset, and I am your most envious agent. No, no, everything is from my perspective right now. You are just the owner of S, but I'm not asking for your preferences. It's just my perspective that I'm taking. So I have some items, I have some value for it. You have some items, and it so happens that I envy even a subset of your items. It's not shown in this picture, right? Yeah, that is sort of outside somewhere. Yes, exactly. Exactly, exactly. But the idea is that, okay, so suppose one of your subsets is a minimal envious subset and I'm your most envious agent, what you could potentially try to do is throw away what I currently have, give me that subset, give me this subset, and I will still be happier because I envied this, right? It's green, right? So I envied it, but once I get that subset, rest assured that no one else in the world will have EFX envy towards me. Why? Because no one envies a minimal envy subset of it. So this is an operation that is going to preserve EFX in some way. Okay, so that's sort of the idea. And I'll compensate you accordingly to take care of your EFX envy. Hopefully that will be clear. Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, so I hope the terminology is clear. Okay, cool. So now let's get into the algorithm. Okay, so this was the definition of EFX with charity. Okay, what we are what the template of the algorithm is going to be is that it's going to maintain an invariant that the partial allocation is EFX. Okay, it's going to always at every step maintain a partial allocation among the main agents that is guaranteed to be EFX for sure. Okay, and it's going to make progress towards the other two goals. Okay, it's going to eliminate envy towards the pool, and it's going to make sure the pool is not too large. Okay. All right, let's see how to do this. So start with everything unallocated. Everything is in the pool. Yeah. So it's trivially EFX among the main agents because everyone is empty-handed. Okay. All right. but the other two conditions are not satisfied, right? So now we are going to apply a bunch of rules, right? We are going to apply 3 rules one by one, right? And we're going to apply them as long as those other conditions are not satisfied. Like we're going to apply them as long as we can't apply them. Okay, all right. Okay, okay. And you should note that every single one of these rules is going to maintain the EFX invariant at every step. Okay, and as soon as we cannot apply any of these rules, we will return the current allocation, and you'll observe that it satisfies the EFX with charity. Okay, all right. So what's rule 1? It's a fairly simple rule. Okay, so it says that if you have an unallocated good, something in the pool, that can be given to one of the agents while maintaining EFX among the main agents, do it. Fairly simple. Like you're taking something from the pool, giving it to the agents. It still does not disturb EFX, so why not do it? Pool is charity. The pool P, everything is in the charity, right? Everything is in the pool P. Now we are taking out some stuff from the pool, right? As long as we can maintain EFX, by all means, go for it, right? So this is maintaining our invariant of EFX among main agents, right? So pictorially, suppose these are the agents. Okay, so maybe they have some goods assigned to them, maybe not. And this is your pool, right? So what this rule is saying that, okay, as long as there is some item and some agent who can get it while maintaining EFX for everyone else, just keep doing that. Okay, this is rule 1, very natural. Okay, so what it is helping us do is it's maintaining EFX among the main agents, and it's also shrinking the pool, right? So it's shrinking the pool in size and possibly also in value. Right? It's making some progress intuitively towards our original goals. Okay, so that's rule 1. What's rule 2? Rule 2 says that, okay, if there is envy towards the pool, right? So this is in violation of one of our charity conditions, right? Charity said that there should not be an envy towards the pool. If that condition is not satisfied, then rule 2 triggers, right? Then what we want to do is we want to give a minimal envied subset of the pool to one of the most envious agents, and we want to throw away its original bundle to the pool. Okay, so that's a bit complicated. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so this is the picture. Okay, this is the pool. These are the agents, right? And suppose these 3 agents envy the pool, the red agents, right? They like what's on the right-hand side better than what they currently have. Okay. Yes. Yes. Now nothing can be exactly. So no matter which item you give to one of the agents, it's going to violate EFX. Okay, but I'm not going to use it in this description. Okay. Okay. So these 3 people envy the pool. What do? We try to see if we can shrink the pool and still someone envies it, right? We are going down that tree. Okay. So suppose I shrink the pool a little bit, right? I imagine now I ask, okay, do people still envy this subset? I'm going one level down in the tree. So suppose these 2 agents stay, like they still say, oh, I still envy that subset, this shaded area. Okay, so we go one level down. Okay, okay, so we shrink it further. Suppose this agent still envies it. Yeah, but suppose this agent does not envy any subset of this. Suppose that happens to be the case, right? Okay, then what should I do? Yeah, go ahead. Did you raise your hand? Oh, sorry. Okay, not. Maybe you said something. Anyone who raised their hand from the back row? Okay. Okay. Someone in the yes. Yeah, this is the most envious agent, correct? So what should I do? Exactly. So I pull off this blob from here, right? I give it to the red agent, and its original stuff I throw it back to the pool. Sorry? More and less are not clear because it may have multiple items. In my cartoon, it does not, but we never know, right? There could be many items here. So you might actually increase the number in the pool for all you know. But what you are doing is that you are making this agent strictly happier because it's getting a set that it envies. What you're also ensuring is that because this is a minimal envied subset, no agent has EFX envy towards it. Right? So once you make this exchange, right? So this is the case. Once you make this flip. So you return this to the pool and this blob comes here, right? This is going to be still EFX for everyone else, but just by definition of a minimal NV subset. Whatever they're doing is still there, right? So I'm not, yeah. This is between the people and the pool, right? So because my invariant is EFX, I would have started with a configuration that was EFX among these people, right? Now I'm changing the bundle of one of these agents, but I'm changing it in a way that does not upset EFX. How? Because of the definition of a minimal NV subset from the pool. Yes. NV more than EFX. Yes. Possibly. Yes. So at this point, it might seem that I'm actually making my life worse, right? I'm making the pool grow, right? So maybe this idea will never terminate. We'll see that in a second. Okay. Hopefully, if Pallavi allows me 5 more minutes, we'll see that. Okay. Yes. There could be multiple. Return it to anyone. No. Because it's a minimal NV subset, no one will EFX NV the red agent. Yeah, so I'm not saying anything about your NV towards the pool. It could, yeah, so you could still NV the pool. It could grow for all we know, right? Yes. Yes. You may have NV towards the red agent. You don't have EFX NV towards the red agent. So I'm maintaining EFX as my invariant, right? So that's the idea. Yeah. Okay. So this was rule 2. Okay. Yes. Say it again. Absolutely. Yeah. So pick any minimal NV subset and the corresponding most NV agent, give it to any one of them, and rest assured you will maintain EFX invariant. Okay. But as you can see, it's upsetting some other parameters, right? The pool size could go up and down, and we could go all over the place. So it's not clear what's happening right now. Hopefully, it will be in a few seconds. Okay. Can you speak up a little bit? Uh-huh. Happy in what sense? I'm not sure I understood. Maybe let me come here and can you explain the question again? Right. Right. Okay, so pool is gone. Okay. So they won't be unhappy because EFX is my invariant, right? So if actually pool becomes 0, then I have found a legitimate EFX complete allocation, right? So pool becoming 0 is a very good situation for me, right? Because if pool is 0, then I've allocated everything among the main agents. And in the context of my algorithm, I'm maintaining EFX the main agents. And that's the golden scenario, right? You allocate everything and get EFX. What do you mean unhappy? So they were unhappy with respect to the pool, but not with respect to each other, right? Okay, cool, right? Okay, so this was rule 2. Um, okay, I'm actually out of time already, but let me hurry up, okay? So let me just give you rule 3 quickly, okay? So rule 3 says that, so rule 3 is attacking the third condition in the charity definition, right? So if the pool is large, if it has greater than equal to n items, that's when rule 3 comes into the play, okay? What rule 3 does is it actually comes up with a cycle of most envious agents. Okay, and this is where the envy cycle idea becomes relevant. Okay, so this is, I think, the more involved of the 3 rules. So let's take a second to parse it. So again, we have a situation like this, right? People, these are the main agents, and there's some stuff in the pool. I've named some of the items because they're going to be relevant in my description. Okay, so Remember, the reason we are applying rule 3 is because we were not able to apply rule 1, right? So no matter which item you give to which main agent, it's going to create, it's going to upset EFX, right? Okay. But suppose you take item A and you give that to one of the main agents. Suppose, why not? Okay. Now that might invite EFX envy from multiple people, right? Let's look at that agent who is the most envious agent of this new set. Exactly. Again, look at this as your S set, right? Once you are A, go down the tree, look at who are the, look at which is the minimal envy subset, look at the most envious agent, yada, 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 right? Suppose this is the one. There could be many, but say this is one. Yeah? Good? Okay, right? So if this is the most envious agent, so I've just located, I've just earmarked a most envious agent. I have not done any allocation so far. I'm just doing a thought experiment. Right? Suppose I were to give item A to this, there's got to be a most envious agent, let me mark it. Right? I will do some reallocation in a moment, but right now I'm just marking who the most envious agent is. Okay. Now let me do the same experiment with B. So imagine, again, it's a hypothetical. Imagine giving B to this agent. This is going to have its corresponding most envious agent somewhere else. Right? Might be this agent, might be some other agent, I don't know. Anyway, let's say we are giving to this. Let's say we are giving A to this. It could be given to anyone, but say we are doing that. Okay. Similarly, locate the most envious for this guy. Similarly, locate the most envious for this guy for a different item C. Okay, and keep doing that. And I guarantee you that at some point you will hit an agent that you have seen before. Why? Exactly, exactly, exactly. There's more items here than the number of agents. So if you give different items to different agents, at some point it will cycle back to an agent you have visited before. Yeah? Okay. So we have basically earmarked a potential most envious agent were we to give this item to that agent. Okay. So this is the direction in which the cycle will show up in a second. Okay. But this is just sort of laying the land. Okay. Now let me actually allocate these items. Okay. So I take item A, I actually give it to this agent. Okay. Now note that this was the most envious agent. So there's got to be a minimal envy subset. What I'm going to do in a second is give this minimal envy subset to this agent and discard the rest of this bundle back to the pool. Okay. Yeah. What that will do is this agent will certainly be happier because it is getting a bundle that it envies, and no one has EFX envy towards it because most envious agent. Yeah. Okay. So I'll do this allocation in a second. Let's keep it here for now. Okay. Let's first do the same. Let's have the same understanding for B. Okay. So let's bring B here. Okay. Again, we have located its corresponding most envious agent already, right? So suppose this is the minimal envy subset. I'm going to give this in a second. I'm going to give it to this agent, discard the rest to the pool. Similarly, give C to this agent, right? Locate the green subset, discard the rest to the pool, and so on and so on. Right? And I'll just do it in a cyclic manner because I know that the cycle definitely exists, right? We just argued that. Okay, awesome, right? So now I'm going to do the exchanges. So this green bit, so let me go back. So this green bit with item A is going to come here, right? Right. The one bit item B is gone here. The one bit item C has gone here, right? And the rest of the stuff, like these things, they are all back in the pool. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And importantly, note that EFX is still maintained because of most envious condition. I don't know. It could grow. It could grow for all we know. Yeah, as long as there are n items, I can apply this, right? So why does all this terminate? Right, that's the question. Kind of operations we did in rules 1, 2, and 3, many of them actually led to the pool growing, right? They're adding stuff to the pool, so your envy towards the pool could grow, the size of pool could grow. You're basically going away from your original objective. So like, why the heck is this approach useful, right? Okay, so let's see, right? So okay, first of all, if the algorithm terminates, and it's not clear at the moment that it does, but suppose it were to terminate, then note that we have EFX among the main agents. That was condition number 1 of the charity definition. There is no envy towards the pool. Why? Because otherwise you could apply rule 2, right? And the pool has at most n items, because otherwise you could apply rule 3. So all these 3 things would be satisfied, hence the allocation would be EFX with charity if this terminates. Yeah, okay. So why does this terminate? Well, here's why. So these were the 3 rules that we were applying, right? Nothing fancier than that? Okay. So let's see what happens when we apply each of these rules. So social welfare is basically the sum of the utilities of the different agents, right? My happiness for my bundle, plus Pallavi's happiness for her bundle, plus Sushmita's happiness for her bundle, and so on. You add those things up, you get the social welfare. Okay? Okay. So when we take something from the pool, when we apply rule 1, social welfare either stays the same if you're giving a 0 valued item, or it goes up. It certainly does not go down. Yeah? And pool size for sure reduces, because you're taking an item away from the pool. When you apply rule 2, social welfare strictly goes up, and the pool size, I don't know, it could go up or down, I don't know, right? Rule 3, social welfare again goes up, everyone is happier, right? I mean, as a group, it's a strictly happier group. Pool size, I don't know, right? So importantly, no matter which rule you apply, at least one of these things is going in the right direction. Either welfare goes up, which is great. If it stays the same, at least the pool size goes down. Okay, so now you can just come up with a magical potential function, right? Let's write this potential function for any allocation A, which is a scaled up version of the social welfare, right? So M is the number of items. So as long as the social welfare increases by at least 1, so suppose all valuations are integral. Okay, so this thing, if it increases by at least 1. Then this term increases by M, the number of items. And now I don't care what happens in the pool. The pool can't have more items than the number of items. Right? So if it goes up or down, I don't care. The potential goes up. Okay. Otherwise, welfare remains the same. But in that case, I know that pool goes down. So again, fee increases. Exactly. Either you make people happier or you shrink the pool. Yeah, I think this is not too difficult. It's just a matter of adjusting your parameters. But yeah, right? So again, nice exercise. Try to convince yourself that this is the right potential. It always grows, and this potential cannot be infinity. So there's a cap, and that's why the procedure must terminate. Okay? Yes. Um, sorry, what cycle? Yes. Yes. It either equals, it's either unchanged or it increases. It never decreases because it's goods. No, there's no cycle here. It's a one-shot assignment. But the thing is, if you keep on applying rule 1 and your potential is just the social welfare, it may not change for a long time, right? You have to argue that at some point welfare goes up, right? So exactly. So it's good to have it's good to factor the pool term in your potential, because at every step then you can show that the potential strictly increases. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, so given the time limitation, let me take these alternative approaches in the coffee break. But I hope the potential argument is uncontroversial, right? So this definitely works. Maybe there are other ideas that do. So let's talk about those over the coffee break. Okay. I just want to leave you with a nice open problem, and we'll talk about more open problems later in the day. But one very nice open problem is to show that actually you can find EFX with charity in polynomial time. Okay. It's a pseudo polynomial construction. So yeah, it's not an efficient argument. Okay. Let me stop here and let's take the discussion after the coffee break. Okay. Thank you.